So, good morning, students. We are going to see about today um, what is NPN and PNP transistor and some operations about PNP and NPN transistors. Last class, we have learned about what is bipolar junction transistor and how it is working, and some operations and advantages and disadvantages, and some application related to bipolar junction transistors. Okay, transistor are two types, that is NPN and PNP transistor. First, what is NPN transistor and what is PNP transistor? First, what is transistor? Transistor means it's nothing but some doped elements that are added to a crystal. In a way, when two PN junctions are formed, so at that time, some resulting device may occur. That type of device is called transistor. Okay, it's an entirely new type of electronic devices. Okay, it's used to achieve an amplification of weaker signals. Okay, when compared to vacuum tubes, transistor is very much achieving an amplification of weak signals. Okay, when compared to vacuum tubes, transistors are very small. Okay, it has no filament, and there is no heating power, so it can be operated in any position. Transistor may be operated in any position. Okay, they are also strong and have a unlimited life. Okay, uh, and they are and it is also performing some better jobs, like better than vacuum tubes. When we comparing vacuum tubes, transistor is one of the transistor is doing such better operations than when compared to vacuum tubes. Okay, transistor. So I think transistor is nearly 58 years old. How means where first we replaced in almost all applications. We replacing vacuum tubes into transistors for about more than 58 years ago. So we are telling that transistor is about more than 58 years old. Okay, it is used in most of the applications. So it is also called as the heart of the electronic application. Transistor is called as the heart of the electronic applications. Okay, so this is transistors. First one is PNP transistor and NPN transistor. So first transistor is of two PN junction, that is formed by, it's like a sandwich model. You all know sandwich. It's some ingredients that are diffused in between two, that is two buns. Okay, that's the concept. Transistor is of two types, PNP and NPN transistor. In first one is PNP transistor, first one is emitter, base, and then collector. And in NPN transistor, first one is emitter, base, and collectors. So transistor, how it is formed means it is a sandwiching either P type or N type semiconductor in between the pair of opposite sides. So some of the two types are NPN and PNP transistor. Okay, in a, so first in PNP transistor, in PNP transistor, so it is formed by two P section that is separated by N section. That is அந்த ரெண்டு பி செக்ஷன் தான் பன்னு ஞாபகம் வச்சுக்கோங்க. அந்த எண்ணெய் தான் அந்த சாண்ட்விச்சோட இன்க்ரீடியன்ட். ஓகேவா? ஸோ தட் இன் பிஎன்பி டிரான்சிஸ்டர் N type sandwich is N type region is sandwiched in between two P type regions. So it is called PNP transistor. Okay, it's also called as positive, negative, positive. Okay, first stands for positive, negative, and positive. Okay, that here the majority carriers are holes because it is having more positive vibes. So it is having majority carriers are holes. Okay, This is BJT types and its circuit symbols. So what is NPN transistor? So here what is NPN transistor means? It is a transistor, it is having two N-type semiconductors and a P-type P-type region is sandwiched in between the two N-type semiconductors. So this is the formation of NPN transistor. So here the two PN junctions that are be regarded as the combination of two diodes that is connected back to back. Okay, so here we are having three terminals. One is common, one common emitter, common collector and common base. The three terminals are emitter, base and collector. So what is the function of what is the emitter and what is the function? What is the emitter, what is collector and what is base? So what is the emitter means that supplies the charge carriers, that is if it is electrons or holes. Okay, that part that supplies the charge carriers is called emitter. So emitter is always a forward bias. Okay, emitter is always forward bias, so it can supply a large number of majority carriers. So next one is collector. So collector is that collects charges. Collector means if it is collecting something, here the collector that collects the charge. Okay, the collector is always reverse bias, so it's to remove the charges from its junction with the base. Okay, next what is base? Base is a middle section, so it forms two PN junctions between the emitter and collector, so it is called base. Okay, here it is forward bias that allow the low resistance for the emitter circuit. In base emitter the forward bias, in base collector it is reverse bias, so that provides the high resistance in the collector circuit. Okay, this is the main function of base. So this is the difference between the PNP and NPN transistor. Okay, so it has three regions: emitter, base and collector, as we all know. So the base is much thinner than emitter, so the collector is wider. So the emitter is heavily doped, so we can inject a large number of charge carriers, which is electrons or holes, into the base. So it is the base is slightly doped and very thin, that passes most of the emitter injected charge carriers to the collector. So collector is moderately doped. So so the transistor has two PN junctions like two diodes. So it is the junction between the emitter and base is called emitter base diode or emitter diode. Okay, the junction between the base and collector means collector base or collector diode. So it emitter diode is always forward bias, whereas the collector is always reverse bias. Okay, the resistance of the emitter, that is forward bias, is very small as we compare to the collector, that is reverse bias. So forward bias is applied to the emitter, that is very small, when reverse bias on the collector is very much high. So what is the working of PNP transistor and NPN transistor? So the NPN transistor with forward bias to emitter base junction and the reverse bias to collector base junction, this is the main operation. So forward bias that cause the electrons into the N-type emitter to flow through the base. So it constitutes emitter current. So the electrons that are flow through the p-type, they tend to combine with holes. Okay, so as the base that is heavily doped means it is very thin, so only few electron that combines with holes that has base current. So all other comes on to the collector region, that's called collector current. Okay, so the entire emitter current that flows into this collector circuit. So we are adding the current, base current and collector current. So what is working of NPN transistor? This is PNP transistor. What is the working of NPN transistor? So it's the basic and the forward bias that cause holes in the p-type emitter to flow towards the base. So the emitter current means that cause emitter current. So the hole that cross in the n-type base. they try to combine with electrons. So the base is lightly doped and thin, as we all know. So only a few holes that combine with the electrons. So all other that comes into the collector region, that is called collector current. So almost the entire emitter current that flows in the collector circuit. So the current that conduction with the PNP transistor is by holes. The external collector wires that the current is by electrons. Okay. So it's also called as transfer the resistance. This is some pictures of transistor. Okay, thank you students.